Now, I want to talk too about what we've been doing with regard to illegal immigration. First of all, talking about Chuck Grassley again, back in 1986, when my husband was serving in the Senate, legislation was passed to give amnesty to 3 million people. At the same time, the borders were to be secured and also our laws enforced. Well, folks, during my time in the Senate here recently, a comprehensive bill, a huge bill that affected every part of our society and every part of our economy, came to us on a Friday night. It had been done behind closed doors with a small group. Presented to us on a Friday night, 500 pages. Harry Reid said, we're going to vote on it Monday. So everybody's reading like crazy over the weekend. By Monday it had changed. And not only that, but Harry said, you know, no amendments. If there's anything you don't like, too bad. It's up or down. We're not going to be able to adjust it. Well, again, I figured, okay, we got to get in front of the train because this is not the right way to make good law. So, what people were saying across North Carolina to me was, first of all, Senator Dole, we don't have confidence anymore. Last time when we gave amnesty, they did not secure the borders. They did not enforce the laws. We want proof, not more promises. So I voted against that bill. But when you vote no, you got to tell people what you're going to do, right? So I started to visit with our sheriffs all across North Carolina. I've been in all of our 100 counties, in fact, many of them, numerous times. The sheriffs were telling me these hair-raising stories about gang-related crimes and drug-related crimes. I was feeding that back to ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement people in Washington. And the whole idea was help to get the tools to the local sheriffs. Because there are a lot of tools that ICE provides, like what you probably heard of, 287G. And the whole idea is to be able to identify, apprehend, and start the deportation process where a person who is an illegal member of an illegal community has committed a crime. And so that is underway. In fact, they developed a statewide plan for me, and we're the only state in America that has this kind of statewide plan. And so the sheriffs meet once a month, a group of about 10. They meet with ICE, they meet with my staff, and we're able to facilitate this. And indeed, it's working beautifully. We've had about, I think, 50 a month 3 years ago who were deported. Now it's 500. Now, these are criminals. These are people committing crimes in your community. And I found out, believe it or not, that some of those towns, some of those countries where they were to be deported to wouldn't take them back, wouldn't take their citizens back, so they're sitting in our jails. And so I introduced an amendment that if you won't take back your court-ordered citizens who are supposed to be deported, then you don't get any visas to come to the United States of America, and it's law. We're working right now to help our farmers and construction and restaurant owners who need help from outside to have a legal guest worker program. So whether it's a seasonal workers or full-time under a legal process, that's what's on the plate right now, to try to work that out for people who just can't find the help otherwise. So it's a long process. But now let's talk about several other things, and I don't want you all to, you're probably a little bit warmer than I am because you're in the sun, but I don't want anybody to get a cold today. There's several things that are very much on our minds right now, all of us, I'm sure. One is this credit crisis and the difficulty with mortgages and all of the mess that's occurred. And as the senator was saying when he introduced me, I started in 2003 trying to get legislation that would rein in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, because there were so many excesses and financial accountability that was just, they were doing all kinds of things that were just simply wrong. So they were paying huge salaries, and there were 3 Republicans, 3 of us, who introduced legislation in 2003, because we could foresee that if anything happened to these giant institutions, it was going to be absolute chaos for our country. The Democrats opposed us on that. One of them who opposed was Chuck Schumer. And some of you may know that name. I remember in 2005, Chuck Schumer sitting there on the banking committee when the three of us were trying to get the legislation through, saying, oh, Fannie and Freddie are doing great work, great work. Well, Chuck Schumer's in charge of recruiting right now. He recruited my opponent. And he's also putting $10 million into this state against me in negative, mean, ugly, untruthful advertising. And he was one of the people who was getting large amounts of money from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So, finally though, Mel Martinez came to the Senate. He joined our group on the banking committee, and actually we did get it passed. We got it passed in July of this year, but not in time to save us from the very crisis that we had foreseen in 2003. But the only reason they can be put under a conservatorship is because of our law that passed. And by glory, they're not doing any lobbying anymore. They put $100 million into lobbying against my legislation. $100 million. So no more lobbying for Fannie and Freddie. The conservator has cut that off. But amazing that maybe a lot of this crisis could have been prevented if that had gone through early on. So we need to just look at the background of some of the things that are going on. Two more things. We need a comprehensive energy policy in this country, and we need it now, right now. You know, for us to be 60% dependent on foreign sources of oil, and it's Ahmadinejad's Iran, and Putin's Russia, and Chavez's Venezuela, folks, that's not just an economic problem, that's a national security issue. And so the sooner we can become independent, the better. Now, I never thought I'd be a part of a gang. In fact, I have legislation that would increase penalties on gangs and would provide money for witness protection and so on. I'm a member, though, of the Gang of 20. There are 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats. And we're trying, and I hope in the lame duck session, we can launch a comprehensive energy policy. And by that I mean everything needs to be on the table, including the kitchen sink. And we go at it from every angle. Yes, we need to drill. We need to drill. Yes, we need alternative sources of energy. And I would move $17 billion over from the oil companies, put it on, was to provide incentives for oil. Well, they don't need incentives, you know, with the price of gas going up, for goodness sakes. Thank goodness it's coming down some now. But use that for alternative sources of energy, like solar and wind and biofuels. You know, I'm for nuclear. Goodness, France, 80% of their energy is nuclear. So we need all probably to have a crash course in conservation too, don't we? I was turning out all the lights in the hotel room this morning, you know, thinking I'm going to start trying to help and stumbling my way out. But this is important that we do it immediately. And so I hope that we'll be able to launch this.